Welcome back to Reading with Mo, and kind of a different angle today because we are going to be touring this lovely bookshelf right here behind me. Just this one shelf today we're going to be going through. These are pretty much most of my orange and yellow books, and I'm going to show you guys what I have read, what I haven't read. So currently I counted up, there's 31 books that are on this shelf, and at the end of the video I'll tell you guys how many total I have not read yet, and then hopefully during the month of February I'm going to prioritize trying to get to at least like 4 or 5 of them. But let's go ahead and explore this bookshelf. First up, we have one I have not read, and that is Linden Hills by Gloria Naylor. Now, I have heard nothing but good things about Gloria Naylor. I actually have another book somewhere else on my shelves by her too, and I have not read anything, and so this is definitely going to be a priority for this month because I haven't experienced her writing it. I don't really know how I feel about it, so I'm excited to get to this one. When people talk about iconic and must-read Black women authors, she is a name that I have heard many times, and I have not read anything yet. Next, we have one I have finished, and that is Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. Not the only one by him that I have enjoyed so far, but I have read some that I have liked of his books and some that I haven't, but I did enjoy my time with The Underground Railroad. I remember this one took on the perspective of the Underground Railroad being this like actual physical railroad. I actually have a receipt in here I found from when I bought this book, which was in 2018. When I read this book actually back in 2018, I gave this one 4 stars. So this is definitely one I would like to reread eventually in the future, which is what I'll probably say about every single book that I have read that I still keep on my shelves. Next, we have How to Read Literature Like a Professor, a lively and entertaining guide to reading Between the Lines by Thomas C. Foster. This book I read back in 2019 and I gave it 4 stars then. This is a really good nonfiction book on how to think a little bit more critically as you're reading, and it's something that I feel like I would benefit from a reread of in the future because I feel like I could get more out of it, especially on how to read certain different types of books, not just on a surface level, but really digging into the meat of what books are about and stuff like that really just excites me. Next, we have a young adult book, and that one is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I love Elizabeth Acevedo. I will read anything and everything that she ever writes and has written. This book received a 5-star rating from me back when I finished it in 2019, and this one I think was one of her, the first one I had read of hers that she didn't write in verse, and I definitely enjoyed this book. We're following a young teen mom, and she's navigating the challenges of raising a child as she's a teen herself, and her love of cooking, which is also a nice topic that I loved being featured in this book. Next, we have one of the very few poetry collections I have on my bookshelves, and that is A Cruelty Special to Our Species by Emily Jung Min Yoon. This one was a 5-star read for me, hence why I am keeping it on my shelf still, even though, like I have said many times before, poetry is not something that I hugely connect with and that I find myself enjoying when I'm reading, but this poetry collection I really did love, and it was one of the reasons why I kind of prompted me to want to try other poetry collections to see if there's other stuff out there that I would like. This poetry collection, it focused on sexual violence against women, specifically Korean women who worked in the Japanese occupied territories during World War II. If you're into poetry, I would highly recommend this collection. Okay, next we have a book I haven't read, and this one is Afropean Notes from Black Europe by Johnny Pitts. This book is a deep dive into the Black diaspora in Europe. It's one that has been sitting on my shelves too long, but lately I just haven't really been reaching for a lot of nonfiction, so that's why I haven't gotten to this one yet. Another one I haven't read is The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. This one is the 25th anniversary edition, which is very beautiful. I know there's a movie, I believe, based off this book too, but it's one of those things where I don't want to watch it until I have read the book. This is one of those books where I haven't really been spoiled yet about what goes on. It's just one of those ones I've heard a lot, and I don't really want to know too much going into this book since I have managed to remain unspoiled for what happens in here. Next, we have The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. I don't believe I read this book, or if I did read it, it was a long time ago when I was more like in high school. And this is the beautiful edition by Penguin Vitae, I think it's called. Then this is definitely a really beautiful edition of this book, and I would love to get to it eventually. We'll see, maybe this month. Next we have another nonfiction. Actually, I think the next few are actually all nonfiction, and I don't think I've read any of them. So that is The Slave Ship, A Human History by Marcus Rediker. Now I know I've had this one on my shelves for a long time. And this one is looking at the slave ships that carried millions of kidnapped Africans across the Atlantic. And this one is a history all about that infamous institution. And like I said, I just have not been into nonfiction lately the past year or so. So I do have quite a few unread nonfiction books on my shelves to get to for when I get back into the mood again. But I think I do want to prioritize, these books are going to keep falling. It's so annoying. Hopefully now they will stop falling. So next we have one I just featured recently in a book haul video, and this one is Wake: The Hidden History of Women-Led Slave Revolts by Rebecca Hall, illustrated by Hugo Martinez. I definitely want to get to this one this month because I feel like nonfiction in the form of a graphic novel will definitely be the way for me to kind of work my way back into reading nonfiction again. So this was definitely one I feel like I'm going to be prioritizing for February. Next we have a book called Facing the Lion, Memoirs of a Young Girl in Nazi Europe by Simone Arnold Liebster. I think I got this one from like one of my family members, but the thing is, I've been wanting to read this book, but this is actually the abridged edition. So I'm not sure if I want to read this one. I think I would rather read the unabridged, non-shortened version of this book. So I still haven't decided yet. That's why it's also just been sitting on my shelves for a few years. Next, we have another young adult book, and this one is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, another one of my favorite young adult writers who I will read everything probably from now on that she comes out with. And I really love this edition. It's the Barnes & Noble exclusive collector's edition, so it has purple sprayed edges, and I believe the author has signed it as well. The premise of the book is a little bit cheesy about falling in love in 24 hours, and originally I didn't think I would like this book, but I ended up loving this book, and I watched the movie for it too, and I definitely like the movie. So if you like young adult books, this is definitely one that I would recommend. We have one I haven't read, and it's The Shadow King by Maza Mongiste. This one has been on my shelves way too long. I'm thinking that this is also one I want to prioritize this month. This one is set during Mussolini's 1935 invasion of Ethiopia. So in this book, we're following Huret, who is struggling to adapt to her new life as a maid in someone's household, someone who was an army in the officer, someone who was an officer in the army. I think I got my words switched up there. Next, let's go into this big chunky one here, which is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fanon Jeffers. I haven't read this one. I attempted to. I think I started and I got like 30-ish pages in, and I was enjoying it. I think I just put it down because it was like such a big book and I had other stuff going on at the time. But I am definitely wanting to prioritize this one for this month too. I actually already have checked out the audiobook from my library, so hopefully it'll help me actually stick with finishing this one this time. And I have heard nothing but good things about this book, and I loved the writing that I had read so far. This was an ARC copy of the book that I received back in June of 2021, so yeah, it's definitely about time that I got to this because I should have way sooner. Next, we have Four Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. This one is a choreo poem by the author Sosaki Shang. I hope I'm saying that right. And this one was a 5-star read for me. I really enjoyed this. It was actually turned into a play, and I watched the actual movie adaptation of it, and I remember back when I read this, which was in 2020, and I really enjoyed it. And we have Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. This one I gave 4 stars when I read, and this one is a very short, I would guess, I would put it more in like the literary fiction genre, or like kind of like contemporary fiction. Yeah, I remember this one. It was about 2 different families from different social classes, and they're joined together by an unexpected pregnancy and the child that it produces. And we have Early Departures by Justin A. Reynolds, another young adult author that I really enjoy their work. So this one I gave 4 stars when I read. I believe I listened to this one more so like on the audiobook, but I remember we're following this guy. His name is Jamal. His best friend Q dies, but then there's this new healthcare technology that allows your loved one to be reanimated, but only for a short amount of time is the catch. before they end up dying again. You can't bring them back again. So this one was definitely kind of a hard-hitting book too, because the main character that we're following, his parents had died from a car accident, and he ended up not being friends with his friend that had passed away. So it's kind of like his chance to fix things and make things right, hopefully, by having this second chance to reconnect with his friend. And we have a play. This one I have not read yet, and it's called The Lamplighter by Jackie Kay. This one is, so she's like a Swedish author, and it's a journey into the dark heart of Britain's legacy in the slave trade. So this is possibly one I could get to during this month because it is pretty short. So I mean, I could probably read this in one sitting. Then we have another book that I have read, and that is No Presents Please by Jayant Kaikini. This one won the DSC prize for South Asian literature. This was a short story collection. They're set in Mumbai, and I remember I really enjoyed the stories that were in this collection, and I gave this one a 4-star rating at the time I read it. Now on to the next book. We have Washington Black by S.C. Aduyan. I loved this book. I cannot wait to reread this book again in the future. I remember I really enjoyed my time with it. I actually got to meet the author when I went to the Bay, I think it's called Bay Book Fest, and I think it was, yeah, she was actually got to sign the front to me, which was really cool. I didn't get any pictures because I was so awkward at the time, and I was like not wanting to take a picture. I don't know, I was so dumb. I should have just done it. Because also Tayari Jones was there, and when am I ever going to get the opportunity again? Probably never. Yeah, I wanted to make sure, but yeah, I did give this book 5 stars when I read it. So we're following this 11-year-old boy. His name is Wash, short for George Washington Black, and he is a field slave on a sugar plantation in Barbados, but then he goes on to becoming the manservant for his master's brother, and then from there he comes on this adventure journey, and I don't really want to say too much of what happens, but I believe that this book is being turned into a show, if I'm remembering right, and so I'll definitely be watching that when that comes out. Next we have Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, and I really enjoyed this nonfiction memoir book by Trevor Noah. I wasn't really too familiar with him as a comedian before I read this book. I had just seen it around a lot and had heard good things, and I definitely did enjoy my time. I believe I had listened to this one actually when I first read it. I think I'm actually not going to be giving the star ratings from now on for all of the books, because when I think about it, like, those were the ratings I gave when I read it, but I don't know if those ratings all would hold up true now. So I'm just gonna tell you guys whether I like the book or not, and I feel like that'll be a little bit easier. But yeah, I love this book. Would recommend, definitely. Next we have a young adult book. This one is Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. This one was, I think this one was about like someone who's famous, right? Yeah, so we're following this main guy. His name was Pablo, and he was a college dropout, but then he ends up meeting this girl, Leanna Smart, who's like super popular on social media, and then kind of following their whirlwind relationship meeting. And I remember I really enjoyed this one too, as well as the next few. Actually, these are both young adult books. First we have Harley in the Sky by Akemi Dawn Bowman. I remember really loving this one. We're following a girl whose dream is to be like an aerialist, or a trapeze artist for as long as she can remember, and so she ends up like, I think she grew up around a circus, and then she ends up leaving because her parents won't let her do what she wants to do and joining like a rival circus. And so I really enjoyed this one. I actually got that one from Once Upon a Book Club box, and that one was really cool because they have like little things that you can open up when you get to certain pages. And then we have Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, and this one we're following a young girl who is getting into the music industry. She wants to be a singer, but then seeing kind of the darker side behind it, and of people who try to take advantage of her because she is young and because she's a female. Next we have a few I have not read. The first is Jane Austen at Home, a biography by Lucy Worsley. I actually haven't read, I'm realizing, any biographies from or about Jane Austen, and for a second when I first got this book, I thought it was a more like a historical fiction novel, like a novelization of her life, but actually this one is a biography, and there's pictures and stuff. This is one of those books I want to get to before I go back and reread all of Jane Austen's novels again. Next we have this random book. It's an old folio edition of let's see, Benjamin Disraeli, Sybil of the Two Nations. This was actually published by Folio Society in 1983. This is one I will say I bought purely because of the looks. I purchased this book off of, I think, what was that? Was it Poshmark or one of those resale websites that I was like selling my books on for a little while too. I had picked this one up, and I think another one that's somewhere else on my shelves. And we have There by Tommy Orange. Picked this one up at Half Price Books. This one I have not read. I haven't read this one yet, but it's described as a novel following 12 characters from Native communities all traveling to the big Oakland powwow, all connected to one another in ways they may not yet realize. I would love to get to that one this month, but I just highly doubt. There's so many that I'm trying to get to now. I can add any more. But then next we have a classic, and this one is The Yellow Wallpaper and Other Stories by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. This is published by Arcturus. They're classic editions. I think I have a couple other ones by them somewhere on my shelves, and I've never actually read The Yellow Wallpaper story, and I wanted to get a physical copy of it, and I came across this one, which also has other short stories by this author. I know the Yellow Wallpaper is following like this woman who's put into a room by her husband for the sake of her health, and then she has nothing to distract her except the patterns on the wallpaper, which start moving. We're almost done here, down to the last few that I have left to talk to you guys about. The first one is Yellow Wife by Sadiqa Johnson. I have read this one. This one is a historical fiction novel. I believe she was a mixed woman that we're following. She was born on a plantation, and it ends up on her 18th birthday, like she was promised that she was going to have her freedom, but then she ends up somehow getting mixed up with slavery and everything. I won't spoil like everything that happens, but I remember I did enjoy this book. As well as Frankly in Love, I have read as well. This is another Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So this one has the blue sprayed edges. I don't believe this one is signed by the author, but I think it has like a bonus chapter, or what does it say? Oh, it includes an interview with David and Nicola Yoon, who are married, and I just love that they are married, and I love both of their writings. I will say I like Nicola Yoon's writing better, but I did enjoy my time with David's book as well. This one we were following, I believe, a young boy. His name was Frank Lee. I think this was a like fake dating trope, I believe, in this novel. It's been a while since I read this one, but yeah, I remember I did enjoy it, but not as much as I like Nicola Yoon's books. Lastly, we have one I haven't read, and that is Black Sunday by Tola Rotimi Abraham. This one I purchased a long time ago, and this one we're following twin sisters who are living in Lagos in 1996. Their mom loses their job due to political strife, and the family, facing poverty, gets drawn into the new church led by a charismatic pastor who is not shy about worshiping earthly wealth. This is one I would like to prioritize as well for this month. So out of the 31 books, I believe, that I just showed you guys that were currently living on that shelf, I have not read 14 of them. So that's better than the last shelf, the pink shelf we did. There were 32 books and there were 18 that I hadn't read. So this was about the same amount of books, but I had read 14 of these ones. Or I hadn't read 14 of these ones. So my plan this month is to try to get to about 4 or 5 of them. I'll show you guys the ones that I'm going to prioritize are Black Sunday, the love songs of W.E.B. Du Bois, The Shadow King, Wake, The Hidden History of Women-Led Slave Revolts, and the last we have Linden Hills by Gloria Naylor. So hopefully if I read these, then I only have 9 books left on this shelf, which is still a lot of books to read, but we're making progress. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this little tour of my orangey yellowy books, and that maybe you found something that you want to pick up in the future and read as well. That's it for this video. I will go ahead and leave a link down to the shelf with down to the video talking about the books that are on my pink shelf, and I will be putting all of these into a playlist. That way you can check out all the books eventually that are on my shelves. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!